Hello there, explorers. Welcome back to CodeLand. Today, we are venturing into the amazing Valley of Variables. Get ready because this place is super important for our coding journey.
In the Valley of Variables, we learn how to store information. This information helps our programs come to life. It's going to be an exciting adventure. So put on your coding caps and let's begin.
First things first, what exactly are variables? Imagine a container. You can put things inside it, right? Well, in the world of coding, a variable is like that container. It holds information for us.
This information could be a number, a word, or even a whole sentence. We use these containers, our variables, to keep track of things while our program runs. Pretty neat, huh?
Now, before we can use a variable, we need to create it. In Java, we do this by declaring the variable. It's like putting a label on our container so we know what's inside. Java Instructor. To declare a variable, we first write down the type of information it will hold. Then we give it a name. For example, we can write, "This creates a variable named age that holds an integer value of 10. Remember how we said variables can hold different types of information? That's where data types come in. Data types are like labels that tell Java what kind of data to expect in a variable. They help the program understand how to handle the data correctly. Without data types, Java wouldn't know if a variable is supposed to hold a number, a character, or a true/false value. Let's dive into some common data types you'll encounter in Java. They tell Java what kind of data to expect in a variable. This is crucial because it ensures that the data is processed correctly and efficiently. For example, if you want to store a whole number, you would use the int data type. But if you need to store a number with decimals, you would use the float data type. Each data type has its own specific use case. Type tower guide int for whole numbers, like 5, 100 or 2023. The int data type is used when you need to store integers, which are numbers without any decimal points. This is one of the most commonly used data types in Java, especially for counting or indexing. Float, for numbers with decimals like 3.14 or 9.8. The float data type is used for numbers that require fractional precision. This is particularly useful in scientific calculations, measurements, and any scenario where you need to represent numbers with decimal points. Char, for single characters like A, B, or I, the char data type is used to store individual characters. This can include letters, digits, and even special symbols. It's essential when you need to handle text one character at a time. Boolean, for true or false values. The Boolean data type is used for variables that can only have one of two possible values, true or false. This is incredibly useful for decision-making processes in your code such as conditional statements and loops.
Choosing the right data type is important because it affects how our program uses the information stored in the variable. Using the correct data type ensures that your program runs efficiently and correctly. It also helps in managing memory usage effectively, as different data types consume different amounts of memory. So always consider what kind of data you need to store and choose the appropriate data type accordingly. This will make your code more robust and easier to maintain.
Section 5. Game on creating your character profile. In this section, we will dive into the exciting process of creating a character profile for our game. This is a crucial step in game development, as it sets the foundation for how your character will interact with the game world. Ready to put your knowledge to the test? Let's get started by understanding the basics of character profiles. A character profile is essentially a collection of attributes that define your character. These attributes can include anything from the character's name and age to their special abilities and backstory.
Let's imagine we're creating a simple game. In this game, our character will need a name, an age, and a special power. These are the basic attributes that will help us get started. But remember, in a more complex game, you might have many more attributes to consider. We need to create a character profile using variables. Exciting? Variables are essential in programming as they allow us to store and manipulate data. In this case, we'll use variables to store our character's attributes.
First, we need to store the character's name. The name is a string of text, so we'll use a string variable for this. A string is a data type used in programming to represent text. For example, If our character's name is Alex, we would store it in a string variable like this: string character name = Alex. We can use the string data type for this. Strings are versatile and can hold any combination of letters, numbers, and symbols. This makes them perfect for storing names and other text-based information. Then we need to store their age. Age is a numerical value, so we'll use an integer variable for this. An integer is a data type used to represent whole numbers. For example, if our character is 15 years old, we would store it in an integer variable like this: int character age = 15, which will be an integer. Integers are great for storing numerical values that don't require decimal points. They are simple and efficient, making them ideal for attributes like age. And finally, let's store whether they have a special power. This is a yes or no question, so we'll use a boolean variable for this. A boolean is a data type that can only hold one of two values, true or false. For example, if our character has a special power, we would store it in a boolean variable like this: boolean has special power = true, which will be a boolean value. Booleans are perfect for binary choices, making them ideal for attributes that have only two possible states, such as yes, no, or true, false.
So, to summarize, we have string character name = Alex, int character age = 15, boolean has special power = true. These variables together form the basic profile of our character. By using these variables, we can easily access and modify our character's attributes as needed.
There you have it. You've just created a basic character profile using variables. This is a fundamental skill in game development and will serve as the building block for more complex character attributes and interactions. Now our game knows a little bit about the player's character. With this information, we can start to build more detailed and interactive game experiences. Stay tuned for the next section, where we'll dive deeper into character customization and advanced attributes. Section 6. Changing values, updating our variables. The cool thing about variables is that we can change their values as our program runs. Think of it like replacing the contents of our container with something new.
Let's say our character gains experience in the game and levels up. We can update their age using the following code.
Java character age = 16.
Now the variable holds the value 16 instead of 15. This is how we keep track of changes in our program.
Section 7. Typecasting, transforming data. Sometimes we need to convert data from one type to another. This process is essential in programming because different operations require different data types. For instance, you might need to perform mathematical operations that require decimal points, or you might need to store a number as a string for display purposes. This is called typecasting. Typecasting allows us to take a value of one data type and transform it into another, enabling us to use the data in a way that fits our needs. It's like transferring the contents of one container into another container with a different shape. Imagine you have a cylindrical container filled with water, and you need to pour it into a rectangular container. The water remains the same, but the shape of the container changes. Java instructor. For example, we might have a whole number, an int, but need to use it as a decimal number, a float. This is common in scenarios where precision is crucial, such as in financial calculations or scientific computations. We can do this by writing a simple line of code that explicitly converts the int to a float. This is known as explicit typecasting, where we manually convert one data type to another. Int score = 100. This line of code declares an integer variable named score and assigns it the value of 100. Float new score equals float score. Here we are explicitly casting the integer score to a float by placing float before the variable name. This tells the compiler to treat the integer as a float. Now the variable new score will hold the value 100.0, which is a float. This allows us to perform operations that require floating point precision. Understanding typecasting is fundamental for any programmer, as it ensures that data is used in the most appropriate form for any given operation. Whether you're dealing with numbers, characters, or more complex data structures, mastering typecasting will make your code more versatile and efficient. Section 8. Type compatibility, avoiding mix-ups. Remember how we talked about choosing the right data type? Well, it's important to make sure our data types are compatible when we perform operations or assign values.
Trying to put a square peg in a round hole won't work, right? Similarly, trying to assign a text value to an integer variable will cause an error. Java needs to know what type of data it's working with to avoid confusion and crashes.
Section 9. Variables, the building blocks of code. Congratulations! You've learned about variables, those handy containers that hold information in our programs. You can declare them, assign values to them, and even change those values as needed.
Remember, choosing the right data type is super important, and we need to be mindful of type compatibility to avoid errors. Variables are the building blocks of programming. They allow us to create dynamic and interesting programs.
Section 10. Keep exploring CodeLand. Our journey through the Valley of Variables has come to an end, but the adventure doesn't stop here. Keep experimenting with variables, try different data types, and see what amazing things you can create with code.
Remember, every expert coder was once a beginner. The most important thing is to stay curious, keep practicing, and never stop exploring the exciting world of coding. Until next time, happy coding!